Yo, hello. I'm trying to find all the camera angles. And welcome to another episode of the Logic Based Collective. KJ, Terrell, Siobhan, AJ. Ryan is not here, not in a no longer with us type of way. He's watching. I don't know how to say it. He's like, yo, he's not with us.
He can't make it today.
Yeah, he'll be here the next time. Now I'm gonna be like extra mindful about speaking into the mic. It feels like when we was at church back in the day and had to like share the mic during solos because they didn't have multiples. Yeah, those Sunday night services. My brothers and I had to sing impromptu songs to please the adults. We definitely don't want to do it. But anyway, we're gonna be talking about sharing your faith, and that can mean a lot of different things to different people. The way we're going to talk about it is from sort of a different perspective, because in sharing our faith, I think that we're talking about sharing our testimonies with one another, or sharing just in the way that we share the good news with others. But before we do that, just want to go around get a little vibe check, see how everybody's doing. Obviously, we're going to start with Siobhan because that's what we always do. Chivalry, guys, it's not dead.
Oh, yeah. And yet I'm always surprised. Hi. Today's Monday. Today felt like a Monday, for sure, but it turned around fairly quickly. I had a good day. It was beautiful outside. Took all that in. Coming off of a pretty decent weekend, so I feel good. I feel real good.
Awesome. Okay.
I had a great weekend. Church, work, rest, all the makings of a good weekend for me. And other than that, I mean, like just trying to stay positive, making sure that embrace things not necessarily happening in the way that I personally plan them, but being able to embrace change. Like, especially if I know for a fact that ultimately the intentions are in the right place.
That's what's up. Yeah, I had a good week. It was productive. A lot of things shifting in my personal life, but I'm getting adjusted. So getting used to some of those new things that are going on in my life. But it's been a good week, been productive. So everything's good.
How does it feel to be day shift white?
Oh, my God. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's been good.
I feel like The Last Dragon. You got that glow.
I feel like that. I definitely feel like that.
This weekend, for me, it went by very quickly. We had a lot of stuff happening. Like at our service, we're trying to do some different things with the men in our church. So we got up early on Saturday morning, played basketball, lots of full court games, which I'm definitely not in shape for. Immediately felt it.
We'd have the big three of that joint.
Yeah,
Right.
Not running full. Not doing it.
We were, I was using like old man strength and basketball IQ to try to win games.
Savvy vet.
These kids, man, like they're actually old enough to win. And I'm like, I'm
Don't like that.
I'm going down swinging. So
Right. Bet you never seen Akeem the Dream.
yeah,
Give them the footwork.
Facts.
using all 235, 240 to.
Oh, Lord.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
What do you know about the skyhook, youngin?
that pretty much derailed my entire Saturday because I took a nap, was still tired, I still had to have a lot to do, and I got not very much of it accomplished. So I'll plan that better next time. Outside that, Sunday we had our church anniversary. We had it's our church's 30th anniversary. We started in '94.
Nice.
And my dad's been pastoring for 30 years.
Wow.
We've been we started from the ground up. My god sister Janae, shout out to her. She said, this whole thing was built off of our backs.
Yo, it really was though. I remember y'all going over there and being the actual start of the church.
Yeah, and then from that little office building, it was a Kingdom Hall turned office building. We ended up, remaking it, remodeling, or whatever you call it, and then eventually grew out of that building, came into the one that we're in now. So one thing, you know what I mean? Like, one thing I respect about my dad is he don't just be talking about stuff, man. He's a guy with, because not only has been pastoring for 30 years, but the building that we're in right now, we actually paid off in 7 years.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that entire,
Amen.
it's like it's a big deal.
It was.
Nah, for sure.
Wow, that's amazing.
That
That's
property
not-
is crazy, and for the amount of,
Yeah.
So, and
There's
really,
so many
his
spaces
ability to
to-
believe and
It's huge.
have that vision or whatever. And so obviously it doesn't stop there. We still have more work to do, but just looking back, we've come a pretty long way. So tonight we were talking about faith. I don't know, not faith, but kind of faith. How do we share our faith? Who wants to start?
I mean, I think you can go right off of just your church anniversary and what you were speaking about with your dad's vision, and you know what I mean. Like, at the end of the day, like, the faith that it would take to be able to be patient for something like that. Like, I guarantee that he's seen where you guys are now in '94, but he had to deal with 2 decades almost of
Right,
years
right.
in a way smaller space.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, when you think of the faith that it takes to be able to wait, and the patience that it takes combined with faith to actually trust what God's promised you and things of that nature, like, I feel like that's very interesting. But it's also a testament of something that you can share with people to let them know that they don't have to be, we live in a world filled with instant gratification.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, when you're thinking about things, when it comes to like, oh yeah, like, well, if God said this is going to happen, why didn't it happen? No, it doesn't work like that. But this is why we have to share our testimonies with people to make sure that they understand, like, hey, man, like, I thought this was going to go this way, and 20 years later it did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and all the stuff that happens on the in between,
The hurdles.
you could never imagine it. Probably if you knew it from the beginning, you might not even start the journey.
Right.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about that before. It's like, he gives you the end a lot of the time, and it's like, if he did tell us like how the hot dog is made, we wouldn't want to be involved, because it's like, oh, I got to go through all that, I got to deal with all that. Like, I don't know if it's worth it. So
And there's definitely, I can't give it from his perspective, but I know, it was definitely a lot of, just in terms of him and his experience from the outside looking in. I know it definitely was a faith journey, just in the way that it happened. When we moved into that building, like I said, it was an office building. The guy was like, he wanted like $1,500 a month. We had just moved into the house that my parents live in now.
Yeah.
We had just moved in there like 3 years prior, so they already had a different mortgage of their own. They got them to come down on the monthly price, but you know what I'm saying. But they were still paying, to be able to do that and then be able to pay your mortgage.
It's a lot.
And not only that, you know what I mean, like the utilities. And so we was actually using that building, and it was crazy because there was a lot of nights when it was like just us. There was times when we didn't come, and my dad was just there, like preaching the chairs, because he, you know what I mean, like he believed in all the things that the Lord showed him. And even in that building, when we renovated that building and made it into like the sanctuary that you probably remember, like even for that time, because you're like, oh well, the Lord gave me a vision, but it's not the final vision. It's like, it's, you know what I mean, like it's a completed step into where, because obviously we didn't stay at that building, so you know what I mean, like, but nobody could have seen. Well, I definitely couldn't have seen like the place that we're in right now in comparison to that, because you could literally walk through that. You could walk through that entire building probably in like 5 minutes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like this one, you know what I mean. You
Get
probably
lost.
you can get lost. Or there's probably some place you venture to not go in this other place. So I'm just saying, like,
I mean, there's literally like sanctuaries within that sanctuary.
yeah.
Like,
So I mean, but
Which
just
is-
being able to continue to do that through all of this stuff that he persevered through, spiritually and personally. Like I know, like he had kidney failure, everything. He had to leave his job at what I'm saying, having like a great job, and what I mean, having to leave. Just like different obstacles, and then dealing with people on top of that.
whole time.
Bro, there's some crazy things that happened at that church. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, just coming up, I don't know how you could want to deal with that, but
And I mean, no, I just look at it all like, you know what I mean? Like the same way you have the experience when it comes to your dad of being the child in that example and not necessarily knowing every single thing that he went through, but understanding like now your children on the opposite end, like you may be talking to them about faith, but not giving them all of the details of every single thing that you're going through while trusting God. You know what I mean? So it's like this is like, it is an ongoing thing, like where, you have to fight between transparency and the privacy of being a parent and not wanting them to feel what you go through and different things of that nature. I mean,
I mean, it's funny that you brought that up because I was just saying last night, like, I feel like our perspective matters because it shaped the way that we looked at everything from leaving when we left our grandfather's church to coming in. We're coming from a church that has like mad kids, mad people every Sunday. Like, is what I mean? Like all of the things that's a big deal is crazy to them coming to this place where we're playing music out of a tape recorder for offering. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you know what I mean? And it was like, yo, what's the point in offering? Because there's 4 adults in here, including them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was like 7 kids, 4 adults. And we, you know what I mean? Like, so it definitely was a change. It watching our, like our parents do that stuff. And there was time that was taken away because we, like, coming up, I mean, we were in the 90s, like there was not a emphasis on a lot of the things that there are now. So like our parents did what they knew to do, the way that they were brought up, and they were kind of, you know what I mean? Like there weren't a lot of breaks or vacations or, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it, you know what I mean? Like it was some things I've, like looking back, like, oh man, I got to do things a little bit different. And you know what I mean? Like while keeping those core values, it's just because you watch your parents go through this stuff. I understand now all of the things that he was doing, the things that my mom was doing. Also, I wish that I have time with them that you can't really get back. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like I understand that, but I still would like to have that time.
I get it.
So, it's, you know what I mean? Like, so it is interesting, I guess, from, just from different points of view coming from, because he not in comparison, but I'm just saying, like, similarly, anybody who wants to be great, there are certain sacrifices that you have to make. And, you know what I mean? Like, there's some stuff that you're not going to, I mean, we've heard LeBron lament, like, the family time that he might miss, and, you know what I'm saying, like, and being with his wife, and, and all those things. Well, I think that's a real thing, and to be able to, but I think that there's such thing as being able to be great and create balance at the same time. Of course, it remains to be seen, but
I mean, but they always, like, when you think about it, there's a bunch of sayings that we've learned growing in faith, like, let your gift make room for you. And I mean, like, like this time last year, you wouldn't have even known that, like, your faith and your gift would have been able to have you in the job that you're in now.
True.
So, with that being said, you're actually commissioned to share your faith regularly now, right? So, you can speak to that.
Yeah, I am commissioned to do that. Well, it's a little bit different. In sharing your faith, just like you said, like kind of fighting between transparency and you know what I mean, like, and getting too personal. We have to, in the way that we do it, because like at my job, even though my position is what it is, we're not able to like evangelize.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I can't just go up to somebody and say, you know, like you would door to door. It's like, hey, well, have you heard the good news? Like, you know, they have to already be in that, like they have to approach you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, or they have to, you know, if we're in service and it's fair game. But yeah, it is different. Even in like, so whether it's like the counseling sessions or even in Bible studies or even in the message, because I'm saying, you know, like I can only really give you the gospel according to my experience. Like we read the word, well, I'm telling you, like this is how it applies, and this is how I know. I can only tell you based on, you know, like so if I'm, you know, I find myself sort of like giving it not, you know, like not wanting to be like so, you know, like so personal, but it's just kind of part of my personality to be transparent, because I can see like these guys feeling like, well, you know, we're, you know what I'm saying, like the attitude amongst a lot of guys, like, yo, you know, like we're throwaways. Like you know what I'm saying, like I can't tell you how many times I've heard I hate myself, and you know what I'm saying, like I have a hard time forgiving me, and all, you know what I mean? All these things that I identify with, and being able to share that really makes a difference, because you know what I mean, like we may not have go through the same situations exactly, but we have those similar feelings, and people need to be able to hear not just that God loves you, but how you know and why. You understand what I'm saying?
I think that's an important aspect to bring up as well, because in sharing your faith, I believe you also have to be willing to listen, right? You can't just kind of preach to someone, right? You have to give space to understand where they're coming from, so that you can understand where they are, where their base is, so you can speak to their base, right? Because sometimes you have to speak to the person where they are, not where you want them to be. You know what I'm saying? So I think
that makes a lot of sense.
I think it's important to give space for people to share freely back and forth, and to be able to listen and understand where they're coming from. If they're coming from a space of, you know, I feel a certain way about myself because of the things I've done, or I'm not currently a believer, or, you know, I don't know where you get your faith from, or not understanding what faith is, or where to find faith, right? I think you speak to that differently when you give them the opportunity to share where they are, and then you can kind of give your feedback towards that. So I think that's an important aspect of sharing your faith, is being able to listen to other people where they are, so that you can have an open, honest dialogue.
That's true. I mean, because if I look at it, like there's certain parts of your experience, and even like how you would position it in a conversation, like maybe like to make it as relatable as possible. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's things about my adulthood that I would speak to someone that was just saying like, oh yeah, like, you know, like things suck, and as a man, like, you know, I feel like, you know, both ends aren't meeting, and like, you know, I'm always having to do something. It's always go, go, go. Like I can relate to them on that level. But then there's someone else that may say something about their childhood that makes me think like, okay, like that's going to be the bridge where we'll actually communicate to be able to build a bond there. And like, you know what I mean? Like I've gone through things in so many different respects in my 38 years. You know what I'm saying? That like, you never know what's going to make the most sense in that conversation. Right. So it is smart to like, you know, and that is one of the things I learned as my time working in sales is like, you know, more than just pitching to people, make sure you listen, so that you're not just speaking to like whatever you think you're convincing them to go along with. Not that we're convincing people about faith, but you know.
So, I mean, so we're kind of, so far the conversation, we've been talking more about like evangelizing more so than like that personal aspect of sharing your faith. Because I feel like it's a little bit different, at least for me.
Yeah.
Where I can talk generally about God. I can talk generally about like church and faith, but like when I think about sharing my personal faith, it's a little bit harder for me to do because I feel like it's such an intimate journey.
Yeah.
Like I remember not even wanting to tell my friends that I was like back in church the way that I was. Cause like, I was like kind of like a church girl, or like they knew me to go to church. But like when I was like, gave like my whole yes, and I'm like doing the whole thing and going to service during the week and stuff like that, and going to all these events, I was like, oh, I don't know if I should say anything.
I have a question for you about
Yeah.
that. Do you think that came, because I've dealt with that. Do you think that came from what they seen you do outside of church? Like, like as far as like simple stuff, I'm talking about like, yo, that's like we used to go out for drinks together.
Right.
So now it's like, oh man, like it feels weird to be like, yo, actually I'm trying to go to Bible study on Friday instead of meeting up at the club with you. Was it that?
No, it was more, okay, so I think it was more of not, how like when you first start with somebody, you start talking to somebody, and it's like, you don't want everybody to be in your business because you don't want them to like deter you from anything.
You
know
wanted
what
to
I
make sure
mean?
you were solidified in your choice.
Right.
I got
so,
you.
like, I'm doing my thing, and I'm just like, this is great, and I love this, but I don't want to misrepresent anything. Like, I didn't want to come back to them and be like, oh, you got to try Jesus. Like, he's the best, and then me backslide the next week.
He's
Doing-
I mean, so you
doing
was
some of the
so
things
you was
that we-
protecting everybody.
In my mind, I
No,
believe I was.
that makes
yeah.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
So timing to you
Something
when
like
when
that,
to
yeah.
when to share your faith.
Right. And I like it would be little things like, oh man, I want to pray for the crew. And I'm like, all right, let's get on this group call and I'm gonna pray. And like, man, 30 seconds in, I was like, ooh, I don't know how to do this. And so like I felt like kind
That's
of
a very
fraudulent.
ambitious. That's
Well,
an
I mean, 'cause
ambitious
I
desire.
felt it,
That's
and
dope.
like, I'm like, it's so new. And I'm like, oh man, like I want to pray for everybody. And then I realized like, oh, I don't know how to do. I can't. I'm just talking, and it wasn't. It like I probably was putting it on them, but like I felt like they had a perspective of church and faith that I couldn't represent at the time. In my mind, I'm like, oh, my prayers need to be all forceful. I'm like, ooh, let some tongues come out. Like
So
I
you-
wasn't there.
Do you think that was in your mind what you thought was supposed to happen versus it's because you said that you don't consider that evangelizing. What do you consider that? Even when you're telling your personal testimony, I'm saying like that that is still in and of itself evangelism, just not in the way that we think about it. Just like my prayers, just like we talked about last week,
I was
does
just
not
gonna
have to
say
be
that,
tuned
yup.
up to the organ
Yeah.
to be,
Yeah.
for him to hear it.
It's funny you said I was gonna say
No,
the same
I
thing.
just wouldn't. I wouldn't talk about like my prayer life, like how I was speaking last week about like how I got to a point where I would go to God and be like, oh, I'm not happy. I'm so mad at you, and all this. I wouldn't tell. At the time, I didn't feel comfortable telling people that I was in that state because I felt like I was doing something wrong by oh, I love Jesus. We doing our thing, but I'm mad at him. It
I
didn't
think-
feel right.
But I think like your maturity or your time to be able to understand that like that's not necessarily that's not an indictment on your faith to have moments of frustration.
Right.
You had to endure that, but now you have that information to be able to communicate with someone. Like what I mean, you're able to say like, yo, like I wasn't happy every day. It wasn't like I got saved and it was like all rainbows all the way down the road from there on out
Right.
and nothing happened. It's like, no, like yo, I seen people get saved on Sunday and get fired on Thursday. Like it happens.
It's a real thing.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so people can understand that it's not all, you know what I mean? Because the thing is, like, I hate to say it, but a lot of people do make that decision under the guise of prosperity gospel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happens is like you're just thinking like everything's gonna be beautiful now that you finally come to Jesus and like you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, like I'm rolling, so we good now, everything's perfect, right? Like no, not at all. But the thing is, now that we understand those things, I think it's good to caution people that are learning, like so that they can have a little information before.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? That's why I always say that transparency is so important when sharing what you're going through, because at the end of the day, when you tell somebody, like for me, like it's like just somebody like I've always liked it when like somebody flicks their lights and they're like, yo, the cops is up there. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just like, yo, good looking out, man.
You.
Appreciate
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Like it doesn't change the fact that they're there. It just
Right.
helps me. It cautions me to know like, hey, you know, things could still go afoot.
going from
Like
A
you
to
might
B.
want to relax. It's on you. I'm just letting you know it's out there.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it with like sharing as much as you can. I don't want anybody to go outside of
Yeah.
their comfort zone of transparency.
Yeah.
But I think be as transparent as possible. And like you know, try to be as forthright as possible, as encouraging as possible. And to make sure that you know, like to me, I attack things head on that are my struggles. Like so it's like I'll tell them whatever I'm having a deficiency in so that they understand that I'm a normal person. Because I feel like saints used to appear so perfect to me
Right.
that it seemed intimidating.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh man, like, you know, like you be sitting there and maybe you're sitting outside the church and like you hear the music traveling through the doors. You're like, yeah, I want to go sit in there. And it's like, but I can't go in there like this. And then somebody walks by in a 3-piece suit and he's like, all right, man, have a good day. Or he doesn't even speak to you just because you're in a t-shirt. But you know what I mean? Like the fact that you're willing to like, and that's another thing I was going to say, but character is important. Like when sharing your faith, like at the end of the day, you should look like what you're saying you're about. And I'm not saying that there's a one look of a Christian
Explain that.
one look of a person of faith. But I mean, like, yo, don't say that you believe in people and you believe in this, but then you spend your day filled with nastiness.
Okay.
Because if you spend your day like conducting yourself in a certain way, like it's like, yo, like I remember there was a time when I was very cynical about church people. And I used to be like, yo, like I feel like niggas on the street is a little bit more cool than y'all. Like as far as like yo, they're a little bit more honest. Like if they don't like me, I know. If they do like me, like it's like yo, people are like wishy-washy, people are judgmental. Like I could like pick out all of the negative character traits that I didn't see myself wanting to be near in the world
Yeah.
inside of the church. And I was like, how y'all gonna recruit? You can't recruit me. Like I'm like, yo, y'all kind of gotta work on you a little bit. Like that's how I felt at the time. You know what I mean? Thankfully, I'm matured now enough that I keep my eyes on my own paper. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not focused on everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand any area that anyone needs to work on, that's not my responsibility to have a heaven or hell to put them in. Like, I'm basically just saying, like, oh, maybe that's something you got to work on. Maybe it's not. But I'm going to work on what I got to work on because I'm not perfect either.
I think authenticity is important, and how you present yourself, like you said, is very important. But when I think about sharing my faith, it's not necessarily like evangelizing or sharing my testimony. Sometimes it's just being honest about where I am, right? Sometimes it doesn't have to be more than being honest about where you are. Am I going to church? Yeah. If somebody asks me what I'm doing on Sunday, I'm going to tell them I'm going to church. You know, if somebody asks me what I'm doing on Friday night, I'm going to tell them I went to church to go watch Chosen. And, oh, well, what's that? The life and reenaction of Jesus Christ. I watch it with a bunch of other believers that are like-minded where we can have a discussion. And if you want to come with me, right? That's not saying I'm a Bible thumper or I'm super devout or I'm saved. I'm just telling you where I am and what I'm doing, right? That's authentically me. And I'm comfortable sharing that. So when I'm sharing my faith, I'm not saying I'm trying to get somebody to be saved. I'm not saying I'm trying to bring somebody to church. I'm not trying to save anybody. I'm trying to save myself right now. But what I can do is be authentic to myself and say, this is where I am. These are the things I'm doing. And I'm not going to hide those things. Right? I'm not in fear of somebody judging me. I'm not in fear of somebody, you know, looking down on me or saying, hey, didn't you used to go to the bar? Absolutely, I used to go to the bar. But when's the last time you saw me there?
And the crazy thing is, when I went there,
Yeah,
I said I was going there.
the version
This is where I'm going now,
of
so that's what I'm
myself
going
that I
here.
was isn't the version of the person that I am now. And if you can't see that, maybe you should spend a little bit more time with me, or maybe we can have further discussions so you can see where I am now.
Does anybody know
But
the
not perfect.
textbook definition of evangelism?
Let's go to
So
Google.
I was gonna ask you something, but go ahead.
Nah, go ahead.
go ahead.
That's why she's looking
I'm
it
gonna
up.
look this up.
No, I was gonna say, so like, you think when it's kind of wherever you are is where you are. So you don't really pretend to be somebody that you're not. One thing that, you know what I mean, like I continue to see all the time is also that I don't have control over over your opinion of me. And so you know what I mean, like, so I can come to you and I'm just being myself, and this is, you know what I'm saying, like, but because and this is my experience in you know what I mean, like, just in being clergy, it's like, you know what I mean, like, people kind of put you on you know what I'm saying, like a level that you may not even want them to put you on. You know what I mean, like, yo, I'm not coming to you know, I'm not coming to men's group suited up and do, you know what I mean, like, yo, it's you know what I mean, like, and so then it's like you hear like these real experiences. I know it causes other people to want to, you know, to want to open up as well. But you know what I mean, like, I don't try to present a certain, you know, like a certain way, but I know that I don't really have control over some of that. And so just like being in the prison and ministry, bro, like, there, when I'm at work, I'm Pastor Bayman.
Right.
That's all, you know what I mean? Like, that's all they know. And regardless of our interactions, they can appreciate the things that I tell them. And the reason why I can tell them that. But they're, you know what I'm saying, like, but they still kind of see, even in my mind, like, it's not like I'm nowhere near where I want to be. So this is not a finished product, but you know what I mean? Like, but other people are seeing, because you're able to turn your life around, that is an example that they can look to. So even like what you're saying, like, when you're seeing these people, like, they're still people, but we're seeing them as a different version of what they previously were. So now they're just walking in who they are. And you know what I mean? Like, and to me, like, this is a place that I want to be, but I'm not, you know what I mean? I may not be there. And so, you know what I mean? Like that's, like, even I know, like, my father, so my uncle, like, they're just like, they don't never be, even when people like in the street just say whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's never I'm noticeably trying to separate myself from you. I want you to think more highly of me. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I just think sometimes people have something that they may want to aspire to, and you know what I mean? Like, there's people that I look up to spiritually, and I don't want to be them, but I definitely put them in a, you know what I'm saying, like, in a certain place in my mind because of some of the things that they may do. Now, I'm not saying like I want to have the same habits. I don't know what your habits are, but you know what I'm saying, like, but your prayer life is inspiring. Like, you know what I'm saying, like, I want to be able to take time every day and do this thing. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like I'm not doing enough, and I feel like I can see somebody who is. That's tangible to me. So now I'm reading this book that says that I can do it, but I'm also seeing this person, and you know what I mean, like, and so it just kind of, it becomes like a real, you know, like a real thing. I don't be wanting to. I want to tell, you know, like, who I am, and not really necessarily be getting caught up in, you know, the other stuff or the politics and all that stuff. But it's just like, you don't have, I'm just saying, like, you know, you don't always be able to have that control over, you know, over the way that people see you from a distance, especially like people think differently about you than the way that you might even think about yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like it's tough because then you know what I mean? Like, because you also don't want to get caught up in like, I can't remember what movie this was. It's like this lady was like, I'm not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you trying to appeal to, you know what I mean? Like,
I think in that respect, though, when you're trying to assert yourself to that space where it's like, I'm a cool mom. Like, if you're a cool mom, then be a cool mom. I don't have to say that I'm a cool mom. I don't have to act like a cool mom. I'm just going to be a cool mom if that's who you are.
Yeah,
you
that's
know what
it.
I mean? Like, I'm a grown man. Like,
Yo, I was just gonna use
like
that
I don't
example.
have
Yes.
to tell you that I'm a grown man. You should be able to see how I act, how I move, and
No,
you
but
know
I
what I mean?
used to date people that would be their constant like, and I'm like, if you're having to tell me that,
Right.
are you?
I mean, you're trying to convince yourself.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Like,
That
you know,
part, right?
like-
But that's the difficult part, right? And I think
I remember I was in my early
society
20s
wide,
too.
it's tough when people don't really trust and believe who they are, and they're trying to appeal to others when they're looking for the external validation from others to be okay with who they are themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sorry. You got that definition?
Oh, I do. Before I give you the definition, I just want to share what Amber had posted
Shout out, Amber.
on our live chat. She said, the way we live is a way to share our faith. Does our life match what we say we believe? And
Yes,
that's exactly what
exactly.
y'all were just speaking on.
Word.
But let me get to that definition real quick. So evangelism is the spreading of the Christian gospel by public preaching or personal witness. Zealous advocacy of a cause.
That's why I said like.
And that's why
That's what I
that's
said.
why I wanted you to
like,
read
oh,
that.
It's not evangelizing. Like, this, yeah, it actually is.
I figured that like it's so we're so used to the title
Yes.
Yep.
of evangelist
Yes.
that you don't look at it like the definition of actually like what evangelism is. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're actually witnessing to people, like I hate to say it, but when you're quote unquote sharing your faith, like, you know, to the point of the topic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're speaking on these things, I feel like every time, like it's like, you know, you were talking about the examples you set and things of that nature. To me, like I started thinking about the words being a living testimony. At the end of the day, like you're not always talking to people.
Right.
So when I was saying about like the type of like the character you're exhibiting in front of folks, you have to look at it in the sense like, yo, you never know who's paying attention to you. And I'm not saying that to act. I'm saying that to say that the strides you're making could possibly be being witnessed by someone.
And they are.
So just be honest with yourself in your relationship. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't starting to go to church because I thought somebody was watching it. You know what I mean? Like there was people that was literally like an integral part of my life that was like looked up and was like, yo, you getting kind of different, bro. Like not in a bad way. Like, so I hope my tone and inflection wasn't like saying it like they were questioning me, but they were looking up and they were like, you kind of like, you know, everybody has a moment where you kind of, things are tough. I want to go to church. I want to talk to God. Like, you kind of been going for 3 months. You kind of been going for 6. Like, I think you kind of digging, you kind of digging this church thing.
Right.
Like, you kind of, like, I could look at half the statuses on your page and this quotes from a sermon. Like, you like, you know what I mean? Like, these are things that it's like, I didn't start like Xing out friends from my Facebook because they're continuing to live the life that they're continuing to live.
Right.
Like they can just see that at least some of the things that I share, and don't get me wrong, some of the things that I share may still be me talking junk about basketball, me live watching a TV show and saying something stupid about the characters or poking fun. Like it's like, yo, but in some token, I have to be like, people are like, yo, he's still him.
yeah,
But he's still, but there's this thing now.
Right.
There's this part, and I think even that makes it a little less intimidating to approach faith when you're looking at it like, oh man, like I have to completely relinquish everything that I am as a person. You know what I mean? Like, and while I'm even in real time navigating who am I? Or who am I? Like, I've talked to you guys on previous shows about, like, who am I as I go forward in faith? I don't
Right.
necessarily know that,
Exactly.
but I'm allowing people to figure it out with me. Like, if somebody's watching, they're seeing that, like, oh, I'm trying to swear a little less.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm like, yo, every time you see me, used to be going out. Like, everything's switching up a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not, and I'm not judging anybody that still goes. Have a good time. Be safe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like, at the end of the day, that's a quick fix.
Right.
Think about it. You are literally at home and you have a friend of yours that's like, yo, we about to go out. Like, y'all, I'll pray for traveling mercies for y'all. They're like, oh, whoa, you said something about prayer? Like, but that's really how you feel about them because you care about them.
Absolutely.
And you want them to return home safely.
Yeah.
Like, because whenever their day and their time comes, you want to be able to communicate to them and be like, yo, I never judged you. I hope you don't judge somebody else because I don't want you to get on your high horse either if your time comes. And I also want you to be able to know that people care about you. You don't have to, like, you know, like when we talk about meeting people where they are, that's meeting them where they are.
For sure.
Like, can you say that I pray for you to return home safely when you go to the bar? Or are you going to be like, I can't believe you're still doing that? Because that's how it be.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you was getting ready to say
No. I'll just. No.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, Kay, is important. Even in not doing all of the things that you did, there's a lot of reasons that I think people don't share their faith. I think being even when it comes down to fear, there's different reasons for being apprehensive. You know what I'm saying?
Siobhan's reason was great.
What she was saying, like, yeah,
Yes.
what she was saying, but you know what I mean? Like, even, like, so not, that's like, that is a real reason that a lot of people don't share. I think, if some people were in the same boat that I was in, you not sharing because you don't know where you're gonna land at the end of the day. When you know what I'm saying, like, you saying
Right.
like, yo, this is what I am, like, this is what I aspire to be, but I'm not that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you might see me in those places. You might, you know what I mean? Like, I know what is, what is right and what is wrong. I know where I belong and where I don't.
Right.
But they, you know what I'm saying? Like, or for fear that people, will not really take to, you know what I'm saying? Like, what it is that they're saying. The reality is that a lot of it, to very many people, especially to those around us, what we say is not going to make a difference. Kind of goes back to what Amber said. It's the life that you actually
Right.
live. A lot of us will know, because we're power of God adjacent. We've, you know what I'm saying, we've been in the same room, we've seen it. I've seen people get, I've seen people speak in tongues. I've seen people, get knocked out in a prayer, in a prayer line at the altar. I've seen the Lord heal people. So I'm power of God adjacent. I've seen it from kind of a distance. I've been in the same room, but you know what I mean? Like, but we feel
Close
like,
view.
you know what I'm
Front
saying?
row.
Like, we
Can't sit
feel
in the
like a
back.
certain.
You
it's
remember
like,
being
yo,
a kid, like, they wouldn't let you sit in the back? Like, you seen everything right
Yeah,
here. You're like,
you-
wow, that's
you know what I mean?
really
Like,
happening.
But then you don't really allow for that power to, to take on, to take effect. So you can speak on it, but you can only speak on it from a different, from like a certain perspective. You know what I'm saying? And so in that, that really matters. That makes a difference. Because again, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not doing that, you're going to feel a certain way. And then on the flip side, if you are the people that you came up with, even in your family, like, you can, like, they want to be able to see a difference. Somebody else might be able to say words to them and it affect them.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, but the way that you live is going to make the biggest difference. So even for me, not being able to evangelize per se in the way that we would say is traditional, even when they told us that we weren't able to do that, I took it as a personal challenge to, you know what I mean? Like, well, I'm going to evangelize left-handed because now I can't mesmerize you and be this wordsmith, and you know what I'm saying? Like, and give you sermons on the way to my office. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, now it's going to take me living to a different standard for you, for being, you know, like me living, and I'm saying living to a different standard, and that's regardless of whoever is around, because now I'm depending on the Lord to be able to be seen in me. That means getting a lot of stuff out of the way that doesn't need to be there so that he can shine through in moments when I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that if I'm only living that in front of y'all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm not living to that standard behind closed doors when nobody can see, then it's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, you know, because we talk about being, you know, being vessels to be used by the Lord. How much is he going to want to be able to use a dirty vessel?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so even in getting clean, he knows the clean that he wants us to be. And so he, you know what I mean? Like, he continues to do that. And like, the more we submit to that, the more he's able to use us. But you know what I mean? Like, and so, just like realizing that, I know that it's not just going to be about the sermons. It's not going to be about the Bible studies. It's not going to be, it's like, yo, you have to be doing that. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, figuring out ways to do that better. You know what I'm saying? To really be able to, because again, there's like, it's got to be times when you just see me, and that's all you know what I mean? Like, and now, you know what I mean? Like, but because of the way that I live my life, the presence of the Lord is always with me, and you feel a difference, which causes you to comment on that, which means that I can now begin to evangelize to you with my words because of how I live my life, because how that affected you. You know what I'm saying? Like, the stuff that I do when you don't see me, it matters. You know what I mean? Like, I used to tell my kids, like, yo, you know, when you play instruments, like, yo, nobody's gonna get to hear all of the things that you practice. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna hear that 20, 30 minutes that you're on stage. They don't know how much you practice singing. They don't know how much you practice playing. Them hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. You making your life about this. You not playing video games. All of that. Nobody's gonna know that. They're going to hear you for that amount of time that you get to, you know what I mean, like that. But when, you know what I mean, like, but you'll always be ready to do this at any time if you know what I mean, like, if you practice the way that you say that you love this thing.
Man, on to Ogwa.
No, that makes me think about like the foundation, right? Like, your practice is your foundation. Like, when you get to the base of who you are as a person, you can't change up your foundation. Your foundation will always be what it is, right? I can't build a 15-bedroom house on an 800 square foot foundation. The foundation is what it is. I can only build on the foundation that's there. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to how you act outside or how you interact with people, that all, for me, roots down to the foundation of your faith, right? So that is a major component that I believe, like, when you're talking about your kids in practice, is the foundation. Like, they have to get the basics, you know what I mean? And that foundation is where it happens when there's nobody else around, when there's an empty room, where there's, you know what I mean? It's just you and your own thoughts. You know what your thoughts are. You know what your intentions are. You know what the basis of your foundation and the roots of that are. So you can't share anything without having your roots strong, right? The tree only bears the fruit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the roots have to get the nutrients from the ground. So the roots are the foundation. That's the base. So you have to get everything from your foundation. So, you know, when it comes to sharing your faith, it stems from the very beginning of where it starts. And that's the foundation for me.
Yeah, bro.
It's funny when you said it stems from where it starts, because when you were talking, you said something about like the dirty vessel and like being able to be used more. I think no pun to your song, but the process
Yeah.
of the cleanliness is so important to be able to share. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not for Christians or believers to actually communicate, "Hey, look how clean I am now."
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, communicate the process. So when you said the more you'll be able to be used, it's because there's more information. Your journey, you've prayed more, you've studied more, you've
More space,
grown,
less dirt.
you've grown. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, the process of your cleanliness is you shedding away old things and taking on this newness that you say that you desire. And actually, so yes, of course, there's more, you're more use for you because you have more experiences to encourage people that are trying to do what you're doing. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, if I've been in the gym for a month, I could definitely help some guy that's on day 0. But if I've been there 2 months, like, it's like I have more information to give him.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
3 months, I have more information. He's still a little bit behind me. You know what I mean? Like, if he's able to put in 6 days a week, he may go ahead of me. And that's the same thing with faith, because at the end of the day, like, it's not a race, but someone may actually like pursue it a little bit more intently. And like, you have to be malleable and be willing to be taught from anyone.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, someone could get saved yesterday and like really like have always been like raised in the book and all those things and have like a lot of information to give you. So, and you never know where positive information may come from. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't be resistant to the word just because of who it's like the source.
Yeah. And to your point, and even what I heard Terrell say, which, you know what I'm saying, what I was saying about practice, is that, and you know what I'm saying, like, just giving yourself room to grow. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about like, you know, even when you talk about religions, right? We say like, yo, like I practice Christianity. Like, there's some of my brothers like, yo, they practice Islam. They do, you know what I mean? Like, yo, so it's but think about it in the same way that doctors practice medicine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never heard a doctor be like, "Yo, I'm mastering medicine." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, because, you know what I mean? Because there's such an evolution, you really don't know where that's going to go. Yeah. And so, you know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm saying I'm practicing Christianity. Is, yo, I'm trying to get this right. I'm trying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm continuing to evolve to be able to do this thing that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so again, in saying practice, you know, practice makes perfect. You know, well, we have a promise to be perfected once, you know what I'm saying, like once we go back with Jesus, you know what I'm saying, like, so it's a continuing to practice on, to do those works that we know. You don't know everything. There may be some things that the Lord wants to take out of you that's not even on your mind right now. Mm-hmm. There's some stuff that may be in you that you don't even realize, and you won't realize until the Holy Spirit brings it to your attention. And it's like, yo, but that was happening out of ignorance. And now this thing where now I'm not talking about, you know, like my wanting to do certain surface things. Now, you know what I mean? Like, now we're deep cleaning. I'm practicing. We're talking about, you know, iniquities. He's cleaning out the inside, doing things. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I didn't know this about myself, and now I can see that. And so, you know what I mean? Like, because he showed me. And so, and that's why, you know, like, staying humble to what, you know, what everybody was saying, just staying humble, and where you are is important, because even when we think that we got it all together, we really don't. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're good for, you know, it's like for that level. But then what happens when the Lord wants to take you higher? He's going to hold you to a higher standard, which means that you have to live to a higher standard. Not that you're trying to be over people, but you have to live to the standard that he's bringing you to. You don't have a choice in the matter unless you want to be disobedient. Right. And he's like, yo, I want to take you to this place. Like, Lord, I don't really, but this is where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And so, you know what I mean? Like, living to that standard, him raising you to that, and be, you know, and now, like, I'm not trying to be a certain way. I'm saying, like, this is what I'm doing because this is where he's brought me to. Mm-hmm. I wasn't doing this. I wasn't thinking about doing this. The things that he's brought to my attention there's mad stuff that wasn't even on my mind 3 years ago. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like I was not thinking about, like those things. And I'm like, how could you get to a place where things like that matters? I didn't know that, just like some stuff I didn't even know that the Lord may have been disappointed with. You know what I'm saying? And so then just in sharing that with other people, it's just important. I'll say like a big deterrent for me was not wanting to make God seem like the genie from Bewitched. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna be like, and then like boom, like like you're immediately, you know what I mean? Like he can do things suddenly, he can't do things but usually it's a process, because there's things that he wants to build in us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you put an infant or a toddler in white shoes, like, or white clothes, they don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, it's gonna be dirty, like, because they're not respecting the new threads, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna be. So it's, you know what I mean? Like, but it was like that fear of like, yo, your problems are not gonna go away right away because because you've aligned yourself with Jesus. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but not being able to explain, like, yo, well, now you have an advocate for which to get out of these situations. All of those ways are not necessarily going to be the way that you would take. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but he knows, you know what I mean? Like, and so it was intimidating to kind of do that. But it's, but having gone through certain situations and continuing to go through certain situations, just kind of, I don't feel that way anymore, because I'm like, yo, listen, you know what I mean? Like, yo, everything's not going to be, there's nothing that can really get you to where you want to be overnight. There's not anything, even in the things that we do to kind of escape, or get away from, you know what I'm saying? Like the cares of life, like they're still going to be waiting for us when those temporary highs are down. But now if we can start unraveling, you know what I'm saying? Or allowing the Lord to really begin to do work. Yeah, it sucks in the beginning. You know why? Because stuff gets dirty. It looks more disgusting when you're cleaning it the way that it's supposed to be, because you're not just doing it so that it looks clean to others. You're actually taking stuff out where it doesn't belong that nobody else could see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so now it's like,
it gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah. So, but not realizing that it made it harder because I didn't have the language to be able to say that, or the experience to be able to say specifically what the Lord was doing. But it became different over time. So, but anyway, like what? Go ahead.
I was gonna ask how do you guys feel that you share your faith, knowingly or unknowingly, on a regular basis?
At this point, I honestly just do me. Like, I'm not saying that I don't care, but the extra thought that I used to put into what I thought people might see or not see or whatever, I don't have that anymore. Like, even at work, if I can get in a chapter or two of whatever book I started at home or whatever on my way to work, or something that I heard and I wanted to delve a little bit deeper in, if I can get that in, I will. And I have my Bible in the break room. It's not even my Bible, and the inmate gave it to me because I was, not that I was complaining, like, I can't have my phone on me, so the Bible app can't help me at work. And I was just talking about that one day. He's like, oh, I have a Bible. And he gave it to me because he was like, he knew that I was sincere about wanting to be able to read during my shift when I had the time. So anytime I have a break, Bible's out. And I mean, people will be so weird about it sometimes. It's like, oh man, if I touch that, it might burn or something. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. But they, just seeing me in the act of reading or whatever I'm doing. Some people have caught me praying in the break room sometimes, and like, oh, sorry, Wilson, or whatever. starts a conversation sometimes. And even if it doesn't start a conversation, it's put them in a position to be like, they don't swear when they come around me. If I'm reading, they'll be like, oh, we can't talk about this particular thing while she's in there. You know, those types of things have begun to happen. And at one point, I used to be like, oh, no, you don't worry about it. You don't have to. I was just like, yeah, okay. I'll see you out there, or, you know, whatever it is. Because I'm like, if you want to hold yourself to that standard where you believe that me studying or whatever is up there, I'm going to allow you to hold that standard. And then if you want to ask questions, then we can talk or whatever. But it's gotten to the point where I was having a hard day, and I had somebody come to me. He's like, well, I see you read the Bible all the time. Why, you know, you should have faith in this situation or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, you played me on me. Okay. And it felt, I mean, even though I wasn't having a good day, it felt great after I thought about it, because I was like, wow, they actually, like, I'm not that I feel like I'm doing a thing, but people are paying attention. And that felt great, because I'm like, Lord, I pray to you every day that people be able to see you in me in whatever I do and whatever conversation I have. So I've really just been trying to just focus on my relationship with him and what we're doing, and then whatever is happening that comes out of that is just what it is.
Oh, how do we share it?
Yeah.
Well, at work, I would say that it's easy, because that's now like what people kind of expect for you to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, just as a chaplain, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so that's easy. With the staff, maybe, because CEOs are traditionally just kind of standoffish until you get to know them. Like, it's, you know, it's a little bit different, but like, I don't really change who I am. I continue to be, although it's annoying for me to, you know, if I see you, say good morning. You don't have to have a conversation. Say good morning. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but it really throws people off a lot of times. And I'm not trying to be like over the top, but it's like, if like I'm not gonna walk past and not say something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still like, yo, I pray before I get to work. I pray when I'm at work. I do, you know what I'm saying? Like, always to be able to, like I said, to allow for the Lord to be seen in those ways. So I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm like just one way. And even when I'm not there, it's just in my regular life. That's kind of just who I am. I had it's like a couple of guys. We have to kind of go to each dorm, and you know, and just check in on guys. And there's because that aren't even Christian, that, you know what I mean? Like, and they're like, yo, you know, I love when you come here, like, you know, like you guys, you know what I mean? Like, you always, you know, like you always got this, you know, this good energy, like, you know what I'm saying, like that. And it's like, dudes, and some of them I don't even speak to like that all the time. I just greet them and keep it moving. God bless you, and keep it moving. But when I come through, like, they, you know what I'm saying, like they feel, and now, you know, I'm like, that kind of is like a conversation starter, because like, yo, why are you always like, you know, like, just like, you happy to be here, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, yo, because of this. And now, you know what I mean? And that causes for there to be conversation. He approached me, I can now say this. So it's so it's just, you know, like, sharing that, and pretty much wherever I'm at. Like, I really I monitor the interactions that I have with people. I know that I have kind of like a social battery that can run out. You know what I mean? Like, but you know what I mean? Like, but I really monitor like those interactions, because I started thinking like, you know, what if this is the time that somebody says something and they need for you to say something that's going to be an introduction into them getting into this. I may never see this person again, but maybe just because they did that, I don't know, somebody could say like, Lord, if you know what I'm saying, like, if you're real, let somebody do say this to me, and you know what I mean, like, or whatever, and that just happens. You know what I mean, like, who knows? So, just more than anything, just wanting any of those interactions, and like I said, and just the way that I carry myself to speak to speak to the things that I would tell you, because people say all the time, like, they may not remember what you say, but people remember how you make them feel, and you know what I mean, like, and I don't have to worry about them feeling away if they can feel Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cuzzo.
For me, I keep using this word, but it's really important to me, is authenticity. I'm not trying to be something that I'm not, and I'm not trying to present myself to the world as something that I'm not, but I will tell you where I am and what I'm doing, and I'll do that unapologetically. Sundays, I'm working on Sundays now, so I can't be in church. So I'm at work, and I bring up the feed. You know what I mean? So guys will come in, they be like, "Yo, look at what you watching." I'm like, "Oh, my schedule is different, but I need to lock in. I need this." You know what I mean? Like, I miss not being there, but I have to provide for myself and for my family. But I still need to be present because this is something I need in my life. And I'm like, oh, well, can you turn that up? Absolutely. You want to lock in? Let's lock in together. But I'm not hiding it. You know what I mean? Right. There are other people, that know about the pod, and they're like, "Yo, y'all talk about different stuff. Like, y'all doing that, like, faith-based stuff on your podcast?" Absolutely. That's kind of the direction we're going. He's like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm talking about that openly. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say like I'm a Bible thumper or anything like that. But if people ask me, you know what I mean, like, "Oh, are you going to church?" I'd be like, "Man, I really miss going to church. I've been locked in for the last like 6-7 months, and my schedule changes. It's something that I really have to kind of process and work through." And like people have asked, like, how are you working through that? I'm like, well, I'm staying connected in other ways. Like, we have Bible study on Tuesday, so I'm definitely gonna lock in on Bible study. Yeah. We're doing other events. We have other like groups,
the life groups, right,
at church. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely gonna be at the chosen group every other Friday. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, "Oh, you going to church on Friday?" Like, that sounds a little different. I'd be like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it may be different for you, but for me, that's where I'm at right now. That's what I'm doing. You're asking me what I'm doing Friday night. You know what I'm saying? Every other Friday, I'm gonna be at church. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean? And I've actually invited a few people from work, you know what I'm saying, to come to church with me. You know what I'm saying? When I was going to church, and they're like, "Oh, I don't really feel comfortable," or you know what I mean? "Oh, I got to get right." I'm like, "Nah, bro, come as you are." He's like, "Well, I don't have any clothes." "Bro, I would wear this to church." He's like, "You would wear a hoodie to church?" He's like, 100%. "My pastor has preached in a hoodie, bro."
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, the pop and circumstance of where you are. If you want to be here, show up. You know what I mean? Before my niece just left she just moved to Puerto Rico. I was like, "Yo, come with me to church." She was like, "Oh, I've got to get my life together before I come to church." No, you don't. Being in church will help you get your life together. Right. Like, everyone seems to have it mixed up. You know what I mean?
And I mean,
when it comes down to it, but that's what I want to share with people. Like, I don't feel like I'm evangelizing, but by definition, maybe I am.
Exactly.
But what I'm just
absolutely
doing is telling people, listen, you don't have to be self-righteous and holy to come to church. Right. You can come to church and let the Spirit work on you while you're there. But you're not going to do that on Friday night at the club, right? You have to be in the presence and allow that presence to work in your spirit. And that's what I've been doing. You know what I mean?
And that's to I remember you said it before about your dad always saying the church is the hospital. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you wouldn't get healthy and then be like, "Okay, let me go to the hospital.
Let me get well
and
first.
Make sure they could make sure they can go cure what I've been going through." Right. Like, feel free to show up broken. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and understand that everybody's there for a million different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And just trust that the man up there is gonna do his job and he's gonna look out for you. You know what I mean?
Like,
and to not have expectations just because you see people in church. Everybody is going through their own thing. You know what I mean? Like, just because you're going to church doesn't mean that you're the best version of yourself. You're going there to become the better version of yourself, right? 100%. I'm not a complete creature. You know what I mean? I'm still in the process, but I'm still going to be there as often as I can be so that I can make the changes that I want to make in my life.
Yeah. And I mean, all those all those things. I mean, to answer the question I even asked everybody, like, I mean, like, it is a little bit like what I said before about like posting statuses and stuff like that. Man, I posted a status probably like last week or maybe a couple weeks ago, and then like one of my Facebook friends, she said, "Man, I really need to go back." She had went to our church before. And I was like, "Man, you're always welcome. Like, pull up." You know what I mean? And then like, and then she came on Sunday, and I'm like, "You never
fire.
know. Like, it's just
That's so
it's just
fire.
a quote.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just like, I'm just hearing it. Like, I'm hearing the line. I'm like, wow, that's impactful. And then
Yeah.
like, you know, for somebody to actually like say under it, like, oh man, like, yo, I need to go back. And then when she came through, like, she came through with her daughter. And she's like, "Oh man, like we've been watching The Chosen. I didn't know y'all had the life group." And she's like, "Oh man," she's like, "What episode are y'all on?" Like, we got to catch up. But you know what?
yeah.
We're gonna catch up to make sure we're there. And I'm like,
Yeah, and it's been fire.
That's-
It's
that's
it's
wild.
definitely
Shout
been
out to
amazing.
her.
yeah, for sure. Like, that's super cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and all it does, I mean, if you're paying attention to the little things, when people are like encouraged by you doing whatever it is that you feel like you're doing that comes natural to you, that's more encouragement for you to continue to do what comes natural to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to put on airs. You don't have to actually like be so performative with whatever you consider. That's why it's good that you gave that definition. Thank you, Siobhan, because, bro, like you said, as you came to the realization, as you're talking, you are evangelizing. You know what I mean? Like, you never understand who you're speaking to. You know what I mean? Just by being yourself. Because at the end of the day, like, somebody's gonna be a little too advanced in their journey to even communicate with some of the people that are gonna that you have no issue communicating with.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like you're doing faith as a whole a service to be able to contribute in that regard, to be able to show where you are and live your truth in front of folks and be willing to tell it, bro. Trust me.
I appreciate that, bro. I do. 'Cause you don't think about it that way when you're in it, right? Because honestly, I was going to church for selfish reasons, right? Like I really was trying to lock in for myself, you know, and I wasn't thinking about trying to help anybody else come to God. I was trying to build a relationship with God for myself, right? But I think
That's what I'm doing now.
being in the space allows you to understand that God will use you in ways that you don't even see for yourself. You know, because I never thought that I would encourage people to come to church, but I've told multiple people, you know what I'm saying? Listen, come lock in, and I'm not gonna like push. You know what I mean? I'll ask you 3 times. You know what I mean? And not consecutively, but periodically, I'm gonna ask you 3 times. If you're not showing up, I'm not gonna continue to push because no one pushed me to be there, right? And I'm not gonna try and be forceful, but I will encourage you and say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. If you want to lock in, feel free to join.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it there. You know.
Yeah. So, you know, we were created absolutely to work in tandem, to work together, to evangelize to each other and, you know, share our testimonies and all that. And even yesterday, thinking about the church anniversary and our pastor's obedience to what God had shown him and told him, you know, where they were going and what to do and whatnot, like his direct obedience directly affected me. You know what I mean? Because had he not started that church, who knows? You know what I mean? Had he not been obedient to have a second service, I wouldn't have gone to Deliverance because I was hopping into service at like 12 late.
I hear you.
Because I had gone out the Saturday night before, and I was like, I want to go to church, but I'm not going to nobody's church at 9 o'clock.
Right.
And Deliverance just so happened to have second services that started later in the day, and I would really just stroll in there, sit in the bed.
I didn't realize that you came in during those second services.
I surely did.
That's how you came in.
That was the way the way I had gotten introduced. And it was a short, I don't want to say short-lived. I don't know how many years they did it.
Yeah, it was a couple
But
years,
it was something he was called to do.
so it's a show for it.
Right. And
Tiring is what it was.
but had he not, you know, done that thing. So there are things that are directly connected to what we do. And us being obedient just to those little urges from God, like go here, do this, say that, or whatever. And then there's a line of people who will be directly affected. You're going to influence them. they're going to see or hear you, and they're going to, be better. I'm not going to say they're necessarily going to get saved or whatever, but something that you did will affect them and change their life. So it's just like continue to move on those urges, to move wherever you think it's just you feeling a way. A lot of times it's God and the Holy Spirit telling you to do a thing. Do that thing. You know what I mean? Because it's like seriously, like even this podcast, I truly believe was a push from God. The direction that we're going in was definitely a push from God. And it just took us coming together on a different level. We started off doing something completely different. He invited people in to do something completely different, but God knew what he wanted to see happen or who he wanted in place to do certain things. And he just had to move the pieces after we did the thing that he wanted us to do. So it's just those things. He's good like that. He's just he's just like that. I love it. So, yeah. I'm sorry. I just.
That's probably the most
we
he's
do
talked
it.
in a while.
I was say that's a good
Yeah.
note.
You know, what's the name? Terrell, man, being able to be on, like, so when I finally got on day shift, I don't know if you remember this, like all that time before that, I was like, I'm trying to get back, you know what I'm saying? Like get back on my, really get back on my Jesus, like trying to really do, really do this thing for real. And I did. And then I went to day shift. I was not able to be at church on any Sunday because we worked second shift.
Yeah.
And we missed everything. I mean, like, second shift, I feel a lot of times is only good if you go out like that, like, which, you know what I'm saying, for a point in time we were doing. But then, like, you know what I'm saying, like that changed. A lot of that changed for me. Then I was able to see, you know what I mean, like just to be able to see, like, I would never have been able to have missed that many Sundays and still been, you know what I mean, like, and still been going strong. Like previously was like this time, like it really was different because now it's like, I'm on day shift. I'm ain't gonna say, like the secrets, but you know what I'm saying? Like seeing the services streamed as much as I could see, you know what I mean? Really doing that stuff. I was reading for myself. I was praying without, you know what I mean? Like I was doing those things on a consistent basis and I didn't realize that you know what I mean? Like, because it was just, it had kind of become second nature. It's like, I'm going to continue to do that. But then I was like, it's not necessarily all about Sunday morning because I'm still, you know what I mean? Like, my relationship with God matters. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like who knew? Like, you continue to do that. Cause I was like, for a minute, we all like, I was like, I want to be on day shift. And the way that it happened was so crazy. It was like one day I wasn't, and it was like, oh, well, because this happened, like you gotta be on day shift. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I was that, and then even when that got taken away, the situation that I was in, I never, I had to probably had to go through like another month of second shift before, you know what I'm saying, before I ended up moving on and do, you know what I mean? Like, but it was crazy like how that happened, because then I was like, now I can actually do this and not be fearful necessarily of stepping back, because I've been away from church for mad long. That it was like, now I can only go to Bible study. I can only go to service if we have something in the afternoon, which we did not during that season. So it was like, you know what I mean? Like, so it was, you know what I mean? Like just staying in that certain place because I want to. I mean, I'm saying like that's where, you know, like where I hear you saying that it was like, I'm getting it however I can do it. And I'm still, and I'm maintaining, like, and the Lord and I are having this relationship, that's a good thing. Cause I mean, like, you don't know where, you know what I'm saying? Like where he's going to take you next. You just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like, it's just crazy to hear, because it just sounds like, the same thing happens. Like, I'm telling you, like one Saturday, it's like, oh, baby, you got to be on day shift. Like, it was like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, all right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then like, I was happy for it, but I was like, I couldn't be around. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and then you know what I mean? Like, so, but I stayed, you know what I mean? But I really stayed like stayed in it, and I didn't go to Sunday service for like 7-8 months.
Yeah.
And it was like, whew, that was real. That really happened. Nigga, I'm still saved. Like, yo, like, can you believe it?
And that's
Nigga,
I'm
still saved.
and that's the place that I find myself in right now, because I can't see a space where, and you know how the schedule is. There's not going to be that many swaps. There's not going to be that opportunity where, you know, unless I have holidays or time owed or something in that space, that I can foresee myself being able to make that move and that transition. But what I can do is be intentional about how I spend my other time. Right. And I want to spend my time with other believers. I want to spend my time having discussions and doing things. And thank God I'm in a space in a church where they have life groups where I can still connect and I can still have discussions and I can still be a part of Sunday service because of the way our Bible study is set up, where it's directly correlated to Sunday sermon. So although I wasn't there, I can literally ask my pastor who spoke on Sunday about why he chose this verse and why he did this. And when we break out in life groups, have conversations around those things. So I'm still feeling fulfilled in the ability to be connected, although I can't be present. Right?
And it's crazy
and
because
I miss that presence. Like,
remember, you used to speak before while you were going on Sunday. You would talk about how you wanted to get better at reading. You wanted to get more entrenched in the scripture and things of that nature. I mean, you know, we always say like God doesn't make mistakes. And, you know, even just feeling that you have to supplement one for the other probably helps you delve into the word even more.
in a different way, for sure. Yeah. It's interesting how it evolves, Ren.
Yeah.
And like another thing that this conversation had made me think about is the addition by subtraction, right? Like so often when people talk about faith or becoming a believer or starting that belief, it's like, well, how much of me can I keep? Right. And I don't really think about it in that way anymore. I think about it as addition by subtraction, because the enhancements,
Talk
right?
to 'em.
It's like my outfit is flyer when I have the right shoes and the right watch, right? Those are all enhancements, right? So
sir.
as I continue to delve deeper into my relationship with God, he's going to change things. He's going to enhance me in ways, like you said, I couldn't see myself where I am right now 2 years ago, but I'm here and I know I'm not the best version of myself. So I'm still getting better.
Talk to him, bro.
I'm removing some of the other things from who I was, and it's not change. I don't want to say it's not changing. It's
Evolution.
it's evolving, right? I'm evolving who I am because I'm not doing the things that I was doing, but I'm starting to take on new things, right? And those enhancements are making me better. The way I communicate, even being on day shift, bro, like you understand that there are certain personalities that are just very negative. You know what I'm saying? There's so many negative people in that environment, right? So I find myself, on my lunch break, boom, I'm gonna eat 15 minutes. I'm gonna take the last 30 minutes. I'm taking laps around the building. It's beautiful out. It's daytime out. I can just walk. I can be active. So I'm taking the time and the space to be by myself. You know what I mean? So instead of being around those negative people, having conversations that I don't want to be involved in, right? And it's actually scripture that made me want to walk, right? Because we were going through Timothy in the series that's being preached in church right now, and our pastor asked us to read each chapter the week before so we would have context for the sermon, right? And as I'm reading, it says, get away from foolish conversations, right? I think it was the second chapter of Timothy where they were starting to talk about like getting away from foolish conversations. And at work, there are multiple opportunities to have foolish conversations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and to remove myself from those things, I have to just separate myself, right? But I don't want to be so separate that I'm not like building camaraderie with my colleagues. But I can do that in a way where they're like, White just doesn't talk about certain things, or White doesn't involve himself with certain things. And that's when we go back to like being that living example, right? Like, I'm not going to say, y'all shouldn't talk about this, or I'm going to Bible thump in the middle of this conversation. But what I can do is remove myself when you're talking about things that don't align with the person that I want to be, right? And those are the things that I've noticed about myself where God is changing me and moving, because otherwise I would have involved myself with a lot of that foolishness, right? But that's not taking me where I want to go. It's not aligned with who I want to be. So I'm going to remove myself and do other things. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to get some sun and I'm going to walk and I'm going to move my body and I'm going to take some time to be by myself. And now that I'm thinking about it, besides just walking, that's another opportunity for me to take some space to be with God. You know, and I haven't been doing that, but like even in this moment, it's telling me, you know what I mean? These are the times and the opportunities that I can take to continue to build my relationship because I'm really out there and I'm by myself and I'm doing my own thing. So why not take that opportunity to connect in a deeper way, right? And I have this opportunity for 25, 30 minutes every day.
That's beautiful.
You know what I'm saying? But addition by subtraction, you know what I mean? It's not always how much of me can I keep, how much of me is going to be enhanced by the new version of myself. You know what I'm saying? It's a dope space.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in talking about sharing our faith, I mean, I think that is something that we've managed to do throughout this episode, and in different ways, from different perspectives, from something like just where we are, the things that we've been through. And hopefully the things that we have shared has been beneficial to everybody that's watching. I heard a lot of good things from, like from what you guys are saying. Definitely made me think of, some things from different perspectives, and just to be able to, the point of the conversation, be able to open up people's minds and not just see like this faith walk one way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're looking at 4 different paths toward the same goal. You know what I'm saying? And you have like different churches. Our city has a bazillion churches. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we just have to keep in mind, like that we as individuals are our churches, and so you know what I'm saying. Like we're all the temple of the Lord. We want the Lord to be able to, and so you know what I mean. Like just in keeping that in mind, like just like a building. Every church isn't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may be able to witness to somebody I'm not able to witness to. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's important that we share our faith. The word says, so taste and see that the Lord is good. Well, if we're not all sharing, everybody is not able to get those different flavors. I may not want, you know what I'm saying? But the guy that does not like sour apple, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's cherry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, so that's so we got it. So we want to just implore you to visit spreadtheword.store, spreadthegoodword.com for all of your Christian apparel. If you are in the Worcester area this weekend, brand new, I will be preaching this weekend at Mount Sinai Church of God in Christ in Worcester, Massachusetts. If you be there, definitely pull up, definitely come out. The Lord is going to be in the building. He has given your boy a word, and I would like to share with y'all. And for everybody, and I'm gonna end with, I've written a devotional, a 7-day devotional about faith, and so it's that we're talking about these, salvational faith, and then just having, faith in God and all of these things. I'll hopefully be able to share with you all at some point. Just to put it out there because we're coming up on the month of May, and it'll be released then. And so just keep that in mind. I don't know if we have any other church announcements.
You have a title?
Well, the name of the book is Fixing Fractured Faith. And so we'll be able to elaborate another time. But we thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Logic Based Collective from wherever you're watching it. We just would implore you to also subscribe, comment, share the Logic Based Collective. We're coming at you guys every week on Mondays at 8:30. And we are about to go now. But until the next time, as always, we want you to allow Jesus to be the lotion that lathers your ashy soul. So we're out.
Amen.